Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
What's up, everybody? Welcome, dissidents, one and all, to another afternoon edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. Keaton Weiss here with Russell Dobular.
Hello.
So you know why we're here. The Twitter Files Part 7 has dropped, but that's not the only news of the day that justifies this impromptu Monday matinee. We obviously had the January 6th hearings just result in 4 criminal referrals to the Department of Justice against Donald Trump. And, of course, Elon Musk lost his own poll 57-43. So the verdict is that he should step down. We haven't had a formal announcement from him saying that he will honor the results of that poll yet. But if he is a man of his word, an announcement may be forthcoming. So a big news day of sorts, I suppose. What should we talk first?
There is actually a developing story that he had somebody strapped to dynamite with the understanding that if this poll went that way, they were going to be blown up. And there was actually an explosion in downtown San Francisco.
Yeah. I don't even know if he's there. Isn't he still in Qatar? Do you think he flew back?
He's probably still in Qatar. My read of the game Elon is playing there is he needs to get back to his Tesla, and he's looking for an excuse to put somebody else in charge of Twitter. So now he can play it both ways. Oh, the people have spoken. Look, I'm a man of the people. I honor the people. But I think he's at the point now he really needs to stick somebody in who's just going to run it the way he wants to. In the end, it's not a publicly traded company. It's his company. It's his toy. He can stick anyone in as CEO and call them up and say, no, fuck you, do it this way. What does it matter? What does he want to be over there dealing with these headaches for?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a decent enough read on it. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, like you said, it's not publicly traded. It's his. So unless there's a change in ownership, really, the CEO title is a figurehead of sorts. Right.
Right. He's going to stick somebody in there to deal with the grunt work, and he's going to tell them what to do. And he's going to go back to Tesla because the stock has been plummeting since he took over Twitter. And it bumped up a little bit today with those poll results. So that's what's going on here.
He should make Alex Jones CEO of Twitter. Alex Jones could use the job. He could use the money, you know.
He could, definitely. Yeah. They're gonna take it as fast as he makes it.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, you know, that's an idea. It's an idea. No law against that. It's a private company, right? He can hire who he wants.
Yeah, and I also think Musk is saying, you know, I'm the target for all of the shit libs. Once my face is not the face of the company, they're gonna shut up a little bit.
Yeah, sure they will. The same way they will shut up if Ron DeSantis is president in 3 years and not Trump, right? I mean, they'll have a little bit of noise to make, but it won't be nearly the same, right? No. It won't be the 24/7 frenzy that they were in from 2017 through 2020. Speaking of that, let's talk a little bit about these criminal referrals that came down the pike. Obviously, the January 6th hearings concluded today. I guess this was the last day of their session before the new Congress takes over, so I guess they had to wrap it up. And 4 criminal referrals, so now the ball is in the Biden Justice Department's court as to how they will handle that. It's an interesting question because, you know, look, the permanent state obviously wants to take Trump off the board, so it would be in the interests of the deep state to just go after him as hard as they can and just disqualify him from running. On the other hand, these are Democrats we're talking about, and it's probably to the Democratic Party's advantage to keep him on the board for as long as possible, because recent polls now have him trailing DeSantis again. And, look, you're going to go into 2024 if you're the Democrats with a weak nominee. It looks like Biden is running again, which is something I can't even say without laughing. Really, it's hard to get through that statement.
I know. Yeah. I couldn't help but laugh a little when you said
exactly. So if he's running again, I mean, the Democrats need every advantage they're going to get, and a fractured Republican Party could be one of very few things that could potentially save them. And so the longer Trump stays in the mix, the more bitter the Republican primary becomes, the more fractured the party, the weaker whoever the nominee is going into the fall. It looks like it's obviously going to be either DeSantis or Trump, even if Trump squeaks it out, which I don't think is likely at this point. Like I said, the longer he stays on the board, the more divided the GOP is, and that benefits Democrats. So it's probably in the Democrats' interest to just leave it alone, right? It's not like the libs who are obsessed with these hearings are not going to vote if they don't send Trump to prison. Like, they're going to vote for Democrats anyway, right? There's no real political advantage, really, beyond the headlines and, fundraising. Yeah, they'll raise some money off of jailing Trump for sure. That'll get the shit libs, checkbooks out. But they'll raise money either way. I don't think there's much political advantage for them to actually pursue putting him in jail. I really don't see the upside.
Yeah, but I don't know if they have yet fully made the calculation. I mean, maybe they're coming around to it. But at the time that they thought that this was to their advantage, they still believed in Trump's voodoo, that he had some magic power over the voters. It's not that you nominated the most unpopular candidate in the history of your party's nominations. No, it's Donald Trump has some secret sauce that makes the voters do his will. So I think when they set all this in motion, they thought they needed it. They might not necessarily feel that way now, but the thing has a momentum of its own.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true. I think that's true. At the same time, though, I think things being what they are now, it's not too late for them to change course, and I don't think it's to their advantage to do this. I mean, look, in order to really disqualify Trump, you'd have to convict him, right? You're not going to convict him. There's no way. There's no way. And look, this is why sitting presidents cannot be arrested or charged. They have to be impeached. It goes through a political process because it's always going to be a political process. How can a president, even a former president who is a private citizen now, how can they get a fair trial? Find me 12 people in America with no opinion of Donald Trump going in, right? Find me 12 people who aren't going to bring some bias, right, to that process. It's very, very difficult, and it's extremely divisive. It's extremely destructive to the social fabric. So, are they actually and beyond that, what evidence do they have to actually prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he wanted that to go down exactly the way it did? It's tough to prove that beyond a reasonable doubt, especially when, as we've mentioned various times on this show, the Capitol Police let the rioters in the building. They took the barricades down and let them in.
I don't necessarily agree with your core legal theory here, or your core premise, because that argues that we can't prosecute out of office presidents. We can't ever prosecute them because the impeachment process obviously doesn't apply at that point. And I am sure you are among those who would like to have seen George Bush go on trial for war crimes. So
sure.
under your premise, you can't do that.
Well, but it's very hard. I mean, yes, I would personally like to see George Bush go on trial for war crimes, but I don't deny that it's very hard to do that, and that would come at tremendous social cost, right? And so the calculation then becomes, well, is the benefit worth the cost? And you're dealing with a president now whose latest boss move was to sell NFT digital trading cards of himself dressed as superheroes. So what is the political payoff to taking him down a peg? He's already...
I hear
he's done, man. He's on life support as it is. Like, what is the payoff here?
I heard he's going to be the new Black Adam in the James Gunn universe.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
He's replacing The Rock.
Exactly.
Yes, I don't know that they would choose to go this way if they had to choose it now, today, because now Trump It really they got burned so bad with the Pied Piper strategy last time.
Right.
I think it took these midterms for them to stop seeing Donald Trump as some kind of a magic man with some secret snake charmer power over the voters. But now it's too late. They've done this whole January 6th thing. It has a momentum of its own. I think if anything, if they decide they want to keep them on the board, that'll play out at the Justice Department level. That'll play on the level of the Justice Department not pursuing it.
Well, sure. But that is the level that it's at right now.
Right.
They sent the referral in. So that's where it is now. No, there was no doubt that this January 6th committee was going to send a criminal referral. They weren't going to do all this and then not send it. The question is, does Merrick Garland pull the trigger on it? And I mean, it's tough to guess whether he's going to or not. But if I'm Merrick Garland, right, I don't see a good play on the field here. If I'm quarterbacking this, I don't see it as a play worth running. I really don't. And I know, Rob Reiner is going to be very upset about that. So Rob Reiner will send off a few angry tweets about it. But that's about the only political price you're going to pay. It's, Alyssa Milano and Rob Reiner are going to feel let down. But long term, I think it's in their interest to leave this where it is. I just do, because I think Trump is wounded enough already to the point where the longer he's in the race, the more fractured the Republican Party becomes. If you're the Democrats, you want to sit back and watch that play out. It's probably the only chance you have in 2024 is to let the Republican Party just destroy itself to the point where it's in no shape to run against even a weak candidate like Biden. You take Trump off the board now, they got the governor of Florida with unanimous support. He starts building his war chest right now. There basically is no primary. Now you're dealing with a very formidable opponent against Joe Biden for 2024. There's no incentive to take Trump off the board now. There really is none.
He might call him a dog-faced pony soldier in a debate, and that could turn the whole thing around.
That's true. Yeah, I didn't think of that.
I think they've been smelling their own defenders of democracy farts for so long that they just might not be thinking that way. They might, but I don't know. They've spent so many years working themselves up into a lather about seeing Donald Trump go to prison. I don't know if they can stop the train at this point.
I don't know if these people understand that you don't really make too much news from prison. Like once you go to prison, that's pretty much it. Nobody really hears from you anymore. Do they really want to say goodbye to Donald Trump forever? Do they really want to lock him away? I mean, really? Are they going to be able to quit him? Are they going to be able to resume life not following the latest Trump outrage? I mean, think about that. Do you really want him in jail?
That's true. That's true. Yeah. I mean, Charles Manson actually ruined it for everybody. Charles Manson made so many TV appearances that they changed the law just because of Charles Manson. That's why you don't see these criminals doing the rounds.
Yeah.
These ghouls in the corporate media, they'll platform anybody. They'll have a Jeffrey Dahmer dinner party if there's viewership in it. No, Manson was like on a show every week.
Yeah,
before they passed a law about it. Yeah.
Those were wild. You want to, if you're ever bored and you want to just veg out to some old YouTube stuff, just YouTube some of that. Those were pretty wild.
Those were. Check out the Geraldo. That's the all-time classic Manson review.
Yeah, but there were others. I mean, that's the classic, but there were others that were just
there were a lot of others, but the great thing about the Geraldo one is I always say about that one, Geraldo Rivera is the only person who could have done an interview with Manson and had Manson come off better than the interviewer. Because he starts throwing this very macho. He actually threatens Manson at one point.
Mm-hmm.
He says it would take you and 10 of your friends, and Manson's been in jail pretty much his whole life. He just goes, "How about I just jump up and beat the dog shit out of you? Would that make you feel like a man?" And then he just starts laughing and completely shifts gear.
Yeah.
Something else.
Yeah.
Only Geraldo Rivera would have thought, let me get into a pissing match with Charles Manson.
Charles Manson. Exactly. All right, we're going to put our patrons on the patron scroll here. We want to thank our Patreon supporters. You can go to patreon.com/do-dissidents to join the party. We had some new signups this week. Your names are added to the scroll. Thank you so much. Super chats are also very helpful as well. They help keep this show afloat and keep us able to do as many streams as possible, including the more impromptu streams like this one. And of course, the main reason for us convening this afternoon is because the Twitter Files Part 7 has dropped. Michael Shellenberger dropped them on his feed about noon, and they were pretty substantial. He was on for about 2 hours, dropping a tweet every few minutes. There's a lot of exhibits attached to these tweets. We won't read all of the exhibits because that would make this show probably insufferably long, but luckily not all of the exhibits are necessary to actually read through. He gets into the meat of a lot of what he's saying in the bodies of the tweets themselves. As you can see, Gunther W., Diana R., Zach B., Vincent S., and Taya S. are our newest patrons, so thank you very much for signing up. And I guess we should get started now. What do you think?
Let's rock and roll.
All right, let's do it. The Twitter Files Part 7, the FBI and the Hunter Biden laptop. How the FBI and intelligence community discredited factual information about Hunter Biden's foreign business dealings both after and before the New York Post revealed the contents of his laptop on October 14th, 2020. In Twitter Files number 6, we saw the FBI relentlessly seek to exercise influence over Twitter, including over its content, its users, and its data. We covered that at the top of yesterday's live stream, last night's live stream. So you can go back and check that if you like. It's at the top of the show. In Twitter Files 7, we present evidence pointing to an organized effort by representatives of the intelligence community, which will, from here on be referred to as IC, have to conserve those characters because of the medium, I wonder if Matt Binder would be okay with that. He's using IC instead of intelligence community. He's got to conserve those characters. What kind of reporting is this,
That's why would you report in a medium like that? Because I've broken stories.
Yeah, I've broken stories, and in the stories I broke, I don't use these abbreviated, forms like this. That's informal. It's unprofessional. All right, Twitter File 7, we presented evidence pointing to an organized effort by representatives of the IC aimed at senior executives at news and social media companies to discredit leaked information about Hunter Biden before and after it was published. The story begins in December 2019 when a Delaware computer store owner named John Paul Mac Isaac contacts the FBI about a laptop that Hunter Biden had left with him. That's a good name for a laptop repair person, Mac.
That
Get
is.
Yeah.
It's probably good for business.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, right. Mac is a great name. His son should go into the business. He should name him Acer or Dell.
Yeah,
Gateway. I don't think they make gateways anymore.
It's a good way to have a son who grows up and burns your house down.
On December 9th, 2019, the FBI issues a subpoena for and takes Hunter Biden's laptop. Okay, so there's the receipt right there. There's the receipt. An $85 repair, man. If he knew it was Hunter Biden, he should have charged him more. Schmuck, right? What a schmuck. What kind of a schmuck charges Hunter Biden $85?
It's like what you do if you have an event space. If you rent to a corporation, it's like five times the price.
$85? You could tell this guy. It's just funny. He goes to a guy... the son of the vice president going to a guy charging him $85, It's just kind of funny. You
would think they'd have connections. Right?
You think they'd have connections, right? Either get a hookup to do it for free or go to the top-notch guy, not Mac's, laptop repair for $85. By August 2020, Mac Isaac still had not heard back from the FBI, even though he had been discovered evidence of criminal activity. And so he emails Rudy Giuliani, who was under FBI surveillance at the time. In early October, Giuliani gives it to New York Post. So, I'm not sure if this was revealed earlier, but the fact that Rudy Giuliani was under FBI surveillance at the time, I don't know, was that known?
At the time, was it known?
Yeah, was that known?
Was
that a fact?
I don't think so at the time, no.
Okay, yeah. Because I don't remember that being a story that time of year. Shortly before 7 p.m. Eastern on October 13th, Hunter Biden's lawyer, George Masiris, I assume I'm saying that right, emails JP Mac Isaac. Hunter Masiris had just learned from the New York Post that its story about the laptop would be published the next day. John Paul, thank you for speaking with us tonight. As indicated, I am a lawyer for Hunter Biden, and I appreciate reviewing your records on this matter. Thank you. All right. At 9:22 p.m., FBI Special Agent.
Here he is. Here he is.
Russell's favorite guy.
Elvis Chan.
Yeah. I should let you read the Elvis Chan tweets just so you get to say that. Sends 10 documents to Twitter's then head of site integrity, Yoel Roth, through Teleporter, a one-way communications channel from the FBI to Twitter. All right. So he sends it. Yoel says, received and downloaded. Thanks. The next day, October 14th, New York Post runs its explosive story revealing the business dealings of President Joe Biden's son, Hunter. Every single fact in it was accurate. And yet, within hours, Twitter and other social media companies censor the New York Post article, preventing it from spreading, and more importantly, undermining its credibility in the minds of many Americans. Why is that, and what exactly happened?
Okay, and this is where you really have to be a special kind of stupid to be calling the Twitter files a nothing burger. Because all the people saying that were the same exact people running around screaming Russian disinformation about this laptop. And they were fed that narrative by exactly the same people. It is stunning. How do you not see that you cannot trust these sources of information in navigating the world and these kinds of issues? It's the same people who are proudly declaring their immunity. I'm not falling for that Hunter Biden laptop. Those are the same exact people telling you there's nothing to see here.
Right. Exactly. All right, here we are. We're going back. So, Russell, I'm reading off of my screen now, so I can't see you or the chat. So, if we should happen to get any super chats, I'm just saying if that happens, if we should be so lucky, right? If we should be so fortunate as to get a few bucks in the super chat, you just stay on top of it and cut me off and read it because I can't see you. All right?
We've been, we've been working hard for our money.
Just if they happen to come in. I'm not saying I expect them to come in or, whatever. If they happen to come in, just let me know. On December 2nd, Matt Taibbi described...
I don't know, man. This crowd looks kind of raggedy.
This is a raggedy crowd.
Well, this exactly. It's the unemployed crowd. crowd that's home. I'm gonna since this isn't clippable, I'll digress. So there used to be that's what this reminds me of. So you're all home in your pajamas now, smoking weed. There used to be in New York, there was like a local ad. I think it only showed in New York for a rehab, and if you were stoned in the middle of the night, I feel like they were trolling all the stoners because at 2:00 in the morning, some old guy, all of a sudden looking directly at the camera, would just start saying, "What are you, high? You're wasted right now? You're doing drugs? You're drinking? You need help. You can't go on like this." It would be the funniest thing.
Well, look at this. John Locke came through. 10 bucks. Thank you, John Locke. We appreciate that. Love the show, guys. Thank you. We love you, John Locke. On December 2nd, Matt Taibbi described the debate inside Twitter over its decision to censor a wholly accurate article. Since then, we have discovered new info that points to an organized effort by the intel community to influence Twitter and other platforms. First, it's important to understand that Hunter Biden earned tens of millions of dollars in contracts with foreign businesses, including ones linked to China's government, for which Hunter offered no real work. And then he links to an overview by Peter Schweitzer, who wrote Clinton Cash. I know that'll trigger the lips. Oh, you're citing Peter Schweitzer?
I have that back here.
You have what back there? You have his book. You have Clinton Cash. Oh, so you are a right winger.
Yeah.
Oh, these years I didn't know.
Hey, man! Before I bought it, I researched this guy, and he wrote a previous book, exposing Republicans.
Yeah, that's true. What was his book? Didn't he write a book on the Bush family? Or was that Roger Stone wrote a book on the Bush? No, Roger Stone wrote a book.
Yeah,
on the
no,
Bush
I don't
family.
think it was something about corruption in Congress or something, I think.
Okay.
So I wouldn't have bought it otherwise. Like, there's nothing. I'm too busy to read Dinesh D'Souza, right? There's no. By the time you're done figuring out what's hyperbole, what's a straight out lie, and what kernel of truth might be there, it's too time consuming to sort all that out. I wouldn't have read Clinton Cash if he hadn't established his bona fides by actually writing another book.
Right.
That like nobody, you can always say nobody's ever really debunked anything he's claimed. In fact, the New York Times, in a rare moment of candor in 2016, did an entire article about Hillary Clinton and the Clinton family's connection to, I think it was called Uranium One, which was something that came out in his book. He was the one who broke that story.
Yeah, the New York Times did pick that up. Yeah.
So he's credible. He's a credible journalist. I mean, the usual suspects. If you're reporting on Democrats, you're instantly a right winger. But
right.
No, he's not. He's an investigative reporter who's not afraid to go places like that.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. I was just joking. I know you're not a right winger. This is for the Paperboy from Better Off Dead. Thank you, Extra Bulla. And I just received via Twitter a DM for your Festivus party. So, like I said, that's my wife and I's 12-year dating anniversary, not our marriage anniversary. But we will do a pop-in, right? We'll do a pop-in, as they say on Seinfeld. We'll do a pop-in. We love the pop-in. Who doesn't love the pop-in? Axel, $25, a crumb of Christmas bonus for the cause. Well, thank you, Axel. Thank you, Brandon. We appreciate that very, very much. That's
Thank
very
you,
kind
man.
of you.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm not worried about people thinking I'm right wing.
No, who cares?
No, but Schweitzer, that's important. People have to understand that this is not some, Tucker Carlson correspondent. Like, he's a serious investigative journalist.
Point taken. And yet, during all of 2020, the FBI and other law enforcement agencies repeatedly primed Yoel Roth to dismiss reports of Hunter Biden's laptop as a Russian hack and leak operation. This is from a sworn declaration by Roth given in December 2020. All right. Should we read this one, Russell, do you think? Probably, right? Since 2018, I have had regular meetings with the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, and industry peers regarding election security. During these weekly meetings, the federal law enforcement agencies communicated that they expected hack and leak operations by state actors might occur in the period shortly before the 2020 election. Likely in October. I was told in these meetings that the IC, see what I did there, expected that individuals associated with political campaigns would be subject to hacking attacks and that material obtained through those hacking attacks would likely be disseminated over social media platforms, including Twitter. These expectations of hack and leak operations were discussed through 2020. I also learned in these meetings that there were rumors that a hack and leak operation would involve Hunter Biden. Yeah, rumors. I wonder how and why those rumors got started.
Okay, and this is something I'm going to say, and I think it's important. We're pretty vicious, but we're fair. We're honest. We
Hold
come
on
by.
One second, yo. Are you punking me? Are you punking me now? I think you're fucking with me now.
I think they're punking you at this point. How can people still be thinking?
Oh, he winked. Okay, so he is fucking with us because he put a wink sign after. All right. Well, thank you, Sammy. I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. So, what's that first lyric in our
Yeah, that is the first lyric. I believe that is the first lyric. The world, it seems fucked up to me. Yes. I believe that is. Anyway, sorry, Russell,
lyric along with some subliminal messaging, but you won't know about that until you become a $100 a month patron.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I broke our newfound policy of not disrupting each other's flow.
Yeah, seriously. It's the afternoon thing. You broke my flow so bad, I forgot what I was talking. Oh, right. Okay. So this is an important point and something that surprised me reading through this. So the earlier Twitter files drops, the Twitter people come off like douches. This one, you actually get more the impression that the earlier ones we read were after they had already been broken in by the FBI and the intelligence agencies.
Yeah, good point.
these drops actually make them seem more like they are asking questions about the legality of this and whether they should be going this way. And by the end of it, they broke them.
Yes.
But at first, there's actually, even with the much maligned Joel Roth, he's pretty resistant when this starts. And by the end, they're much more compliant.
And it does. Sorry, go ahead.
The intelligence agencies, they did what they're trained to do. They ran an intelligence operation on these guys. And by the end of it, they have them eating out of the palm of their hand.
Yeah. And it just, I mean, it further demonstrates the link between the government and the so-called private company, right? I mean, this all just goes to demolish the private company defense. I know we're a broken record on that, but it's very important because that's the only argument that the liberals put up. And with each one of these leaks, it just gets weaker and weaker. But I want to replay this.
I would argue this is the strongest of what's been released so far.
It is. That's why we're on at 3:45 on a Monday, because it's strong. We felt we should. They did the same to Facebook, according to CEO Mark Zuckerberg. Okay, so this was a clip from Joe Rogan. I believe I have the sound shared here, so this should work.
The background here.
Hold on.
Here is the FBI. The background here is the FBI, I think, basically came to us, some folks on our team, and was like, hey, just so you know, like, you should be on high alert. We thought that there was a lot of Russian propaganda in the 2016 election. We have it on notice that basically there's about to be some kind of dump of that's similar to that.
There you go. So we all heard that, right?
Right. They primed them like that. We didn't have this context when we saw the others. This is like the prequel. We're finding out how Joel Roth turned to the dark side.
Right, exactly. This is the Phantom Menace.
This is the Emperor working on him.
Right, exactly. Were the FBI warnings of a Russian hack and leak operation relating to Hunter Biden based on any new intel? No, they weren't. And then he quotes the relevant piece of this exhibit. Throughout our investigations, we did not see any similar competing intrusions into what had happened in 2016, admitted FBI agent Russell
Elvis Chan
in November. Indeed, Twitter executives repeatedly reported very little Russian activity. For example, on September 24th, 2020, Twitter told FBI it had removed 345 largely inactive accounts linked to previous coordinated Russian hacking attempts. They had little reach and low follower counts. In fact, Twitter debunked false claims by journalists of foreign influence. I don't know if we should give that term a matzo brie, but we'll see. Depends on how many more times it comes up here on its platform. We haven't seen any evidence to support that claim by _@ NBC News of foreign-controlled bots. Our review thus far shows a small-scale domestic troll effort. Look,
foreign interference is Google. Actually, that's Google.
What's that?
Foreign interference is Google.
Oh, okay. There we go. Google. Yeah. Look, this is subjective. We don't have to get into this. We don't have to make a big deal about this, but I would argue the first time it was relatively small scale. They spent $100,000 on Facebook ads in 2016. Right. In the big picture, that's relatively small scale, right? After FBI asked... even what's his name? 538 guy. Nate Silver.
Even Nate Silver dismisses the idea that swung the election.
Yeah, of course.
All right. All the shit libs trust Nate Silver. So shut the fuck up about the $100,000 troll farm trying to, putting out stuff about the evils of masturbation. Okay. It didn't swing the election.
Yeah. Yeah. Or, the cartoon Jesus as Trump and the cartoon Satan as, just absurd.
And a lot of it was released after the election.
Well, that's true too. After FBI asks, about a Washington Post story on alleged foreign influence in a pro-Trump tweets, Twitter's Roth says, the article makes a lot of insinuations, but we saw no evidence that that was the case here. And in fact, a lot of strong evidence pointing in the other direction. Well, they never had any evidence for any of that. I mean, they really never had any evidence to back up any of those claims ever.
Right.
The only reason why Roth is predisposed to thinking they might is because he's one of them. He swallows that shit up, you know? But there was really never any reason to believe that there was any there for any of that shit.
Well, and this debunks the entire narrative. At one point, we'll get to it, they show you, I remember when that article dropped and it became the big thing in the media for a minute, how the Russians are targeting African Americans specifically, trying to create, and it's all nonsense. If you look at what they're actually talking about, they're like, no, there's no evidence for that.
Right. Of course. It's not the first time that Twitter's Roth has pushed back against the FBI. This is what Russell was talking about earlier. In January 2020, Roth resisted FBI efforts to get Twitter to share data outside of the normal search warrant process. So this goes to what Russell, you said earlier. These guys were bent and broken, right?
Yep.
And at first they did put up a little bit of a fight. And that makes, volume 1, we sort of started in this dump here about halfway through the relevant timeline, where we only saw them acting like the minions that they were basically turned into over the course of, at least a year prior now, as we can see from this volume 7.
Yeah, I mean they ran an influence campaign on them. This is what was so crazy about all the libs embracing people like John Brennan. These people are professional liars. They're professional cheats. They're professional thieves. What do you think they train you to do at the CIA and the FBI? Play mahjong? What do you think these people are trained in? What do they call it inside the agency? The dark arts.
Right.
They don't call them the upholding democracy and freedom arts. They call them the dark arts. And this is what they practiced on these guys. Something that comes up in here is how they keep, even though they keep getting denied, they keep coming back and asking for information on users and asking for information on users. They're working on them. And they're waiting to catch them at a weak moment or at a moment when there's a development or public pressure is such that they're going to give in. They didn't forget that you said no. This is how they work. They're going to keep asking. They're going to keep asking. It's like you got somebody trying to flip to become an informant.
Right. Exactly.
They say no. You don't just go, oh, well, okay, you said no.
Oh, okay.
Every time you see them, hey, come take a ride.
Right. Exactly.
Right? That's what they're doing to them.
Exactly. Pressure had been growing. Quote, we have seen a sustained, if uncoordinated, effort by the IC to push us to share more info and change our API policies. They are probing and pushing everywhere they can, including by whispering to congressional staff. Time and again, FBI asks Twitter for evidence of foreign influence, and Twitter responds that they aren't finding anything worth reporting. We haven't yet identified activity that we'd typically refer to you or even flag as interesting in the, what's the name? Kugel?
In the Kugel.
In the Kugel context. Despite Twitter's pushback, the FBI repeatedly requests information from Twitter that Twitter has already made clear it will not share outside of normal legal channels. Yes, you're exactly right. It is like, the FBI taking a mob guy for a ride and say, hey, are you sure you don't want to cooperate? You can do 15 to 20 in the can, or you can do 5 in the can and then, retire to Scottsdale, Arizona under a fake name, right?
Or in this case, or we can whisper to our friends in Congress that maybe you got to go testify. Maybe you're going to get called over to Capitol Hill. Maybe things are going to get kind of difficult for you. Maybe it's not so easy for you to move back and forth between government and the private sector for the rest of your career. Maybe you get a bad reputation with some very powerful people if you don't cooperate.
Right. Yeah, right. Exactly. So they really stuck at it. 22. Let me share this one. Looks like I forgot to share that one on the screen. My apologies. Then in July 2020, the FBI's
Elvis Chan
arranges for temporary top secret security clearances for Twitter executives so that the FBI can share information about threats to the upcoming matzo bras. See, so then they put them in, they get them in the loop so that now it's not taboo anymore, right? Now, okay, all right, here, we're going to give you access. You're with us now, basically. You know, this is like, you know, when this is like them making you a made guy, you know.
Exactly.
When you go to become a made guy, you can't say no. When you show up and the guys are there in the suits and they got the playing card and the knife to cut your hand, you can't say no thanks, this isn't for me. At that point, you got to go through with it, or else you're not leaving that room alive.
You're in the family.
Exactly.
Well, it's very funny to me. Part of the ritual of becoming a made man is them saying to you, if you decide that you don't want to become a member, no one will think the less of you. Say so now. If you've gotten into that room and you say that, you're not leaving that room.
Yeah, I mean, they won't think less of you, that you just won't be around anymore.
You just won't be around. They'll think. Has anyone ever said, you know, I've always wanted to dance the lead in Swan Lake?
Yeah, right, exactly. On second thought, thanks, but this is not for me. Yeah, no, exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
While we're paused, I was thinking of this. Yes, thank you for the quote, Sammy. We lied, we cheated, we stole. That's what Mike Pompeo said about his time at the agency and what he was taught there.
Oh, okay. Sorry, that was what you were pausing for. All right.
Yeah.
On August 11th, 2020, the FBI's Chan shares information with Twitter's Roth relating to the Russian hacking organization, APT28, through the FBI's secure one-way communications channel teleporter. Oh, come on, man. What the fuck? What, you know?
Yeah, it's very, now that I've been using Twitter,
yeah,
it's really not user-friendly. That's what Elon should be working on.
Yeah, that's what he should be working on, not quitting and passing it off to someone else. Recently, Yoel Roth told Kara Swisher that he had been primed to think about the Russian hacking group APT28 before news of the Hunter Biden laptop came out. When it did, Roth said, it set off every single one of my finely tuned APT28 hack and leap campaign alarm bells. All right, well, that just means, you know,
he
was
broke
taught
his
right.
brain.
Yeah, he was taught right. In August 2020, FBI's Chan asks Twitter, does anyone there have top secret clearance? When someone mentions Jim Baker, Chan responds, I don't know how I forgot him. An odd claim given that Chan's job is to monitor Twitter, not to mention that they worked together at the FBI. Who is Jim Baker? He's former general counsel of the FBI from 2014 to 2018 and one of the most powerful men in the U.S. intel community. Baker has moved in and out of government for 30 years, serving stints at CNN, Bridgewater, a $140 billion asset management firm, and Brookings. Then he puts up the documentation there.
Oh, yeah, that's his resume.
Yeah.
It's very funny because, you know, just like anyone else's resume, he has the whole objective thing.
Right, yeah.
Objective to overthrow third world governments, mislead the American people.
Objective to crush social democracy in the global south. That's my objective, yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Number 27. As general counsel of the FBI, Baker played a central role in making the case internally for an investigation of Donald Trump. Baker wasn't the only senior FBI exec involved in the Trump investigation to go to Twitter. Dawn Burton, the former deputy chief of staff to FBI head James Comey, who initiated the investigation of Trump, joined Twitter in 2019 as director of strategy. See, this is something no one, I mean, who knew? I mean, I suppose, I mean, was this I mean, I guess if it was publicly traded, this must have been publicly available, but nobody bothered.
Nobody was really looking at it. And okay. The media that has the resources to dig into this never would, and the independent media didn't know.
Yeah, right. Exactly. There was just, I mean, that's a perfect way of saying it. Like, we schmucks, you know, even though we don't parrot corporate media perspectives, we still kind of can tell what's up by what's being covered out there. And if it's not being covered out there, there's no way to know. Speaking of not being covered, This recent drop was nowhere to be found on CNN's homepage, on MSNBC's homepage, any of the mainstream media outlets. Fox had it for a while. Obviously, they got stepped on by the January 6th shit, so it wasn't going to stay up there for long. But CNN had, I think my brother texted me, they had Ray Liotta's fiance pays tribute on the anniversary of his death. Like, that was a more newsworthy story to CNN consumers than this. Right? I mean, that pretty much tells you everything.
Well, the further we go, the more absurd it is to claim that this isn't showing anything, that this is a nothing burger. That's just getting more and more unsustainable. And the more unsustainable it gets, the more frantically they're going to ignore it, to the point that they're not even going to want to platform it to make fun of it or debunk it or to attack Taibbi. The worse this gets, and this is, I think, the most damning drop yet, and I think it's likely to get worse. I think you want to really see the fireworks, wait until they get into COVID. Wait until they get into who they deplatformed and why over the course of COVID.
We'll have to put those streams exclusively on on Rumble.
We're gonna have to broadcast those from offshore.
Yeah, right, exactly. We got a big crowd in here, so hit that like button on this stream, and if you're here for the first time, subscribe to this channel. This is one of many Twitter Files episodes that we have already done and will continue to do. So if you dig this stuff, please give us a like and please give us a subscribe. It really helps us out a great deal.
If you appreciate our Semitic good looks,
exactly.
Hit the subscribe button.
Exactly. I mean, it costs you nothing. If you subscribe and a couple weeks later you find out you don't like us, just hit the unsubscribe. That's fine. But take a chance on us. It's no cost. Just hit that subscribe button, please. It really does help us out a great deal. All right, let's keep going here. Baker wasn't. Oh, okay. Never mind. Sorry, I read that one already. As of 2020, there were so many former FBI employees, BU alumni, working at Twitter that they had created their own private Slack channel and a crib sheet to onboard new FBI arrivals. So they really...
That's scary.
Yeah, they really integrated them.
Yeah. Show that graphic. That is worth looking at.
Okay,
I took a look at that.
Good call. Hey, Jim, so excited you were here. No longer the newest alum. Here is the BU. What does that mean, boo? Is that bureau? Bureau?
Bureau? Actually, I understood that they were using it to say that they had come from the FBI, but I think you just nailed it. I didn't understand why they were saying BU. Yeah, that must be it.
To Twitter, translation chart I mentioned. Adding Dawn so she can add correct. Again, welcome. Super pumped to work with you again. Okay, look. We just take a pause to make a conceptual point. Okay, it won't be a very long one, so bear with me. This fusion, I shouldn't have removed the graphic. I should keep the graphic up for this. This right here, there's a word for this. The word is fascism. The partnering of the FBI with influential monopolistic tech companies, that is fascism, is the fusion of the corporate state with the state. That's what fascism is. They do it with a smile. They do it on Slack, right? Yep.
Slack, that's perfect.
They do it on Slack. When fascism comes to America, it will be on Asana and Slack. That's what it should be. Not Google Calendar. We love Google. Thank you for hosting us, Google. But it will arrive on on Slack and Asana. Absolutely. I mean, that's what this is. Absolutely.
The whole crew from Benghazi is here.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
The gang's all here.
Yep, absolutely. All right.
I have said to several of the people who have taken exception to some of our coverage, if you believe that the intelligence agencies working hand in glove with these tech companies that have an incredible amount of control over speech and the civil society that we have and the conversations we're having, if you feel that's a nothing burger, you're not even a liberal. You are a fascist.
Exactly. Yes.
If that's okay with you, you are a fascist, as it has classically been understood.
100%. 100%. No question about that. All right. I see maybe one or two of you subscribe since I made that announcement. Can we get those numbers up a little bit? Can we hit 4,000 subscribers by the end of the year? That's 11 days. We're 111 away. Can we do that? Can you please hit the subscribe button? That's all right. We're not even asking you for money. All right, just hit the subscribe button, please. Please. I mean, I think we're doing a good job here.
All right.
I think we're doing an excellent job.
All right.
We're doing very well.
Sammy threw up California Uber alles. This is for you, baby.
My grandfather had a great line. We were watching the 1996 playoffs, the Yankees versus the Rangers, and Juan Gonzalez, the old Texas Ranger, I think he played right field. He was a great hitter. He was dominating us in that series. And after he hits a home run, my grandfather, old Jewish guy, rocking in his chair, says, Gonzalez über alles. That was his commentary.
That's a peculiar reference, yeah.
For a German Jew to say that,
yeah,
an 80-year-old German Jew, or he wasn't 80 at the time, it's probably 70. Gonzalez über alles. It was one of his better ones. Efforts continued to influence Twitter's Yoel Roth. In September 2020, Roth participated in an Aspen Institute tabletop exercise on a potential hack and dump operation related to Hunter Biden. The goal was to shape how the media covered it and how social media carried it. Wow. Should we read through some of this? Should we skim through some of this?
Sure.
It's long, but...
I mean, a little bit of it.
You could see the itinerary
on this.
Yeah, we don't have to get into the weeds, but you can see
this is really crazy. Like this is like they offered you a job. They offered you a job selling timeshares. You know,
right?
They sucked them into this conference where once they had them trapped there, they just worked on them.
Yep. Look at this. Day 2, the Drudge Report links to the anonymous website bidencrimes.info, and the site is quickly picked up by other fringe media and begins to spread on social media sites.
Understand what we're reading here. They literally brought these people from these tech companies to war game.
That's what I was just going to say, war game.
To war game what you would do if a Russian disinformation campaign hits your platform. So I mean, this is really interesting because, I mean, it's smart, right? You're not telling them what to do. You're priming them to interpret events in a certain way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, pretty creepy stuff here. Once again, I mean, you know, there need not be a formal conspiracy when interests converge, as George Carlin said, right? Interests converge. This is not, like, as Russell said, directing them to do a thing, right? It's not technically a conspiracy. But look at this convergence of interest here.
But it is brainwashing. It's very subtle brainwashing. And what you see in this drop, you know, we've talked a lot in the previous Twitter dumps about the kind of lib sensibility of Silicon Valley. We haven't talked a lot about the libertarian strain. So, you know, yes, they tend to be very committed to certain fashionable, quote unquote, social justice concepts. But they do also tend to have a libertarian streak about governments getting involved in corporate business. Right. So I think that's where you do get this pushback from them at first. Right. But I think the final threat that really is this is really this incredible insight into how the FBI works in terms of brainwashing and conditioning and manipulating people. You can really see the process of how they worked on the Twitter staff. And by the time you get to the Hunter Biden laptop, they didn't wait to brainwash them. They already did it. They already did it because they knew eventually something is going to hit Twitter that we don't want out there.
Of course. Right. Exactly.
And now we've primed them to think must be Russian disinformation. Right. And if that wasn't enough, wow. Hey, remember what happened in 2016? Wow, man, you really don't want to take the blame if Trump wins, do you?
Exactly.
That's the final little push.
Right. Exactly. And it's not just an ideological thing. I mean, you're right. A lot of these guys do have a libertarian bent to them. A lot of it is just the kind of standard human hypocrisy when it comes to dealing with bureaucracy, right? Like, yeah, okay, they think in theory the government should, you know, crack down on misinfo or hack and leak dumps, this and that. But who wants to be the one to have to deal with that shit? And that exists with everybody. Like, we believe in universal health care. We're economic leftists. While I'm doing my taxes online, I become a Ted Cruz supporter for 10 minutes. I'm like, God damn it, this sucks. Like, so that's just natural. It's human, right? We all feel that way. Like when you have to take the phone calls and return the emails, you're like, oh, God damn it, just leave me alone, right? I think there's some of that too.
I always say when I'm paying my taxes, listen, if I were in Switzerland or any other country with a fair distribution of the tax money they collect, it's going towards something I agree with. It makes sense. You're paying for the roads, you're paying for the streets, you're paying for healthcare, you're paying for education. I wouldn't have a problem with it. In this country, what am I doing? I'm paying to overthrow the government in Peru. Right. That's what I'm paying for.
Yeah, to overthrow the Peruvian government, to build fighter jets that don't work, that we don't need. Right, exactly. Virtuoso, thank you, buddy, for the $5. Whose legs I got to break to get Don Mattingly into the Baseball Hall of Fame? I don't know. It might be his window might be closed, so maybe too late for that. In fact, I'm almost sure it is. But we are fighting a war for democracy against authoritarianism, so we should probably be more authoritarian to win that war. Well, yeah, I mean, that's the ultimate irony, obviously. And thank you, Tusker, for the $5. Much appreciated. All right, let's continue on here. All right, so we just read the plan here. Do they have a buffet lunch scheduled here? No, these are just the days. These aren't the minute to minute, right? Wake up, 30-minute yoga session, right? Then you go to the spa, right? 30-minute soak in the sauna. Then we bomb your phone with alerts of Hunter Biden's corruption, and we see how quick respond real time.
Real time. Shut it down. Shut it down. Shut it down. You have to shut it down before it spreads and affects the election. Quick.
See, if this ever penetrate mainstream consciousness,
person who shuts it down first gets a free hot stone massage.
There you go. Yeah, I was going to say, if this ever penetrated mainstream consciousness in the way that it obviously won't because the media is not covering it, we could do a sketch with like the Full Metal Jacket sort of sergeant drilling them on, misinfo coming in about Hunter Biden. How many Dems have ever read and understood Letter from a Birmingham Jail? It's interesting you mentioned that, Franklin, and thank you for the $5. I consider doing a reading of that, actually, on the air. Maybe we should. That would be interesting, because you're absolutely right about that. I mean, he talks about what King talks about in that letter is exactly who the power players in the Democratic Party are. I mean, he was warning against literally those exact people. And not only those exact people, but in fact, even more so in that letter, he was warning against the people who support those people, the everyday people who prop those people up. So that would be interesting to do. Thank you. All right. The organizer was Vivian Schiller, the former CEO of NPR, former head of news at Twitter, former general manager of New York Times, former chief digital officer of NBC News. Wow, she's got a resume. Compete with Jim Baker there. Attendees included Meta, Facebook's head of security policy, and the top national security reporters for the New York Times, the Washington Post, and others. We won't show those email addresses since we don't want to get in no trouble.
You not only have those platforms, you have all of these people who are reporting on intelligence matters for these newspapers. How can you trust them to report accurately about the FBI and the CIA? Right. They're rubbing elbows with these people. They're having the bagels and lox. They're having a good old time there at this conference.
Right, but it's Matt Taibbi and Michael Shellenberger and Barry Weiss who aren't speaking truth to power. Hey, I thought Matt Taibbi's supposed to speak truth to power, right? They're the ones derelict in that duty. Not these guys. Not the names we just rattled off. No.
No, they're intrepid reporters. These.
Exactly. By mid-September 2020, Chan and Roth had set up an encrypted messaging network so employees from FBI and Twitter could communicate. They also agreed to create a virtual war room for all the internet industry plus FBI and ODNI, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. Then on September 15th, the FBI's Laura Demlow, who heads up the Foreign Influence Task Force, and, Russell...
Elvis Chan.
I'm giving you all the Elvis Chans. I know you love that name. Request to give a classified briefing for Jim Baker without any other Twitter staff, such as Yoel Roth, present. Hope all is well. Can you help Laura and Elvis Chan of the FBI schedule a classified briefing for Jim? They would like to meet early next week, if possible. On October 14th, shortly after the New York Post publishes its Hunter Biden laptop story, Roth says it isn't clearly violative of our hacked materials policy, nor is it clearly in violation of anything else, but adds, this feels a lot like a somewhat subtle leak operation. I wonder where he could have gotten that impression.
Maybe the mind-washing conference he attended.
Yeah.
With all of the people who cover intelligence for the top newspapers in the country.
Maybe Leonardo DiCaprio and Joseph Gordon-Levitt wandered through his subconscious and planted it there on a jet ski, right?
Maybe the Men in Black might have put him under, wiped his mind.
All right. Well, Alexa Petrovic, is that the currency I think it is? Because if it is, we might be in some serious shit. But first ever super chat I've used.
I will research that while you take care of this.
Keep up the good work. Make it get so big that it gets really hard not to sell out. Well, thank you. We're not going to ever get big enough to sell out. Our goal, we will never get rich off of this. Our goal is not to get rich off this. Our goal is to make enough
Serbian.
To this. Oh, Serbian. Okay. Whew. All right. Good. All right. Well, in that case, we're off the hook. Thank you. But yeah, our goal is to make enough to do this full time, to do this every day, because this is what we love to do. All right. I don't love delivering food to people. I don't love shopping groceries for people.
Look,
Russell can't possibly love being a tour guide anymore. It's such a fucking horrible job. I mean, I had such contempt for the customers. That's what drove me crazy.
Well, you know what? And that came back in the comments section today. That was something that you said once. Somebody threw that up in my face.
Really?
Yeah. Because a couple of people actually made this point, but I only really got into it with one of them, of saying that we were deferring responsibility for taking a choice on the Elon poll by throwing it to a poll like we were afraid to take a position. And I was like, have you watched our show? Really? Us? We're afraid to take a position that might offend some people. And, then somebody brought up, well, I'm thinking of when you were talking about guiding and Keaton said something about just taking the people's money and they can go fuck themselves, something like that. So basically saying that. And I was like, yeah. So
I gotta read that.
I was like, okay, so there's this thing called context. And you see, when people are paying for a tour, they're not paying for your politics or your personal opinion.
No, they're paying for a show. To
express that is extremely unprunprofessional.
Right.
Exactly. I would not want to pay for a tour of the Galapagos Islands and have to hear what the person thinks about fucking Parliament. I'm not interested. I'm not paying for that.
That's funny.
So no, the person threw that back at me, and I was like, in this context, it's different. That's exactly what the expectation is, and that's what we're expected to deliver. And if you watch our show enough to know we're guides, you must have seen that we say shit all the time that's going to piss off our audience.
Of course.
But unlike you, I actually don't hate guiding. I love it. So you were like a bitter tour guide.
Yeah, well, I mean, part of
I
the
don't
reason...
know who you worked for. Like I'm doing high end tours. I'm not doing the a lot of food tours.
Well, I did a lot of the Groupon shit, so you got a lot of that garbage. You know what I mean? A lot of just
right. Yeah. See, I'm not dealing
bridge and tunnel people. They were locals too because it was Groupon. So you're dealing with the bridge and tunnel, Jersey, Long Island. Horrible. But I didn't really like the high end people either. I found the high end people annoying, demanding. This one couple basically paid me to babysit their kids for 3 hours. They were awful. They were very rich, obviously. But I couldn't stand them.
You worked for the wrong people, man.
Listen, I really don't. You don't understand because you and I have only met in person once. Okay, when I tell you I don't like people, I really mean it. Like I really mean it. I don't.
Well, so that's not a job for you.
No. Like, a lot of people are posers. They say they don't like people, but they really do. No, I'm real deal. I work alone in a car right now. I take pictures of food on people's porches and I leave. I don't like working with human beings. Right? The reason this show works as well as it does is because we are virtual friends. If we had to do this in person, we probably wouldn't have lasted this long.
Well, when we get our own studio, that's going to be a problem.
I know. All right. Well, I'll have
when we
to
set up our studio. Well, I think we have a good dynamic. We see things very much the same way. But I'm an extroverted introvert.
Right.
Like, yeah, I have a limit. I wouldn't call myself a people person.
Right.
But in doses. Like during periods where I have to be, even if I'm directing a show,
right.
By the end of the directing process, I need to be alone for like a month from being so pressed in with people. But during that time, I kind of enjoy it until I don't. And it sounds like you just don't enjoy it from jump.
Yeah, no, not really. Nicole, thank you for the $2. Tombstone last night. I don't think you got my Tombstone reference. I don't remember it. I would have to go back and
I mean, if you're talking about the movie, I've seen it more than once. So I didn't.
I'm sure she is, but she probably made a reference that we must have missed. It's an active chat now. That's the thing.
Yeah. We don't catch everything.
This is funny. Keaton hates the rich and poor.
That's why we call him a man of the people.
Yeah, exactly.
He hates all the people.
All right, let's get back to work here. In response to Roth, Baker repeatedly insists that the Hunter Biden materials were either faked, hacked, or both, and a violation of Twitter policy. Baker does so over email and in a Google Doc on October 14th and 15th. Okay, so you have Baker, who reviewed some of these files at the beginning, and then I think he was told to go get his fucking shine box, right? Insist that the Hunter Biden materials were either faked, hacked, or both, and a violation of Twitter policy. And yet it's inconceivable Baker believed the Hunter Biden emails were either fake or hacked. The New York Post had included a picture of the receipt signed by Hunter Biden, and an FBI subpoena showed that the agency, like Russell said, this is the big one, that the agency had taken possession of the laptop in December 2019. In other words, they took a look at it.
For all the motherfuckers who have been running around, and this is another strain of Nothing Burger. A lot of people have come back at the fact that you said emphatically that you said one of the main things coming out of the Twitter file is that these 50 intelligence agents lied, and that from shitlib types that's getting a lot of pushback. Well, how does this prove that? I don't. Take a look at this drop. Take a look at this drop. Take a look at these receipts. Now tell me again that they didn't know that they were lying. I only have one thing to say to people who are still going to defend the intelligence agents.
Go home and get your fucking shine box.
That's it.
I thought it was going to be the other one. I thought it was going to be this one.
Is your idiot brain getting fucked by stupid?
Well, that's a good drop, actually.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's underused. We don't use that one enough. Yeah. Got to put that one in rotation a little more. As for the FBI, it likely would have taken a few hours for it to confirm that the laptop had belonged to Hunter Biden. Indeed, it only took a few days for journalist Peter Schweitzer to prove it. All right, using, like I said, that documentation there. By 10 a.m., Twitter execs had bought into a wild hack and dump story. The suggestion from experts, which rings true, is there was a hack that happened separately, and they loaded the hack materials on the laptop that magically appeared at a repair shop in Delaware. Let's just read this.
Well, and you can see this is such a case of not only have they been prepped to think this way, not only have they been brainwashed to think this way, and you could see how Elvis Chan maintained this kind of veneer of sociability of all being on the same team, and that's part of the brainwashing and the conditioning, because now they this is your buddy Elvis Chan. He wouldn't lie to you, right? They're telling you that this is a feasible story. You don't want to disappoint them and turn around and say, well, that's the craziest thing I ever heard.
Well, I mean, you've already bought in too,
right?
In more ways than one,
right? You joined the cult.
Right. You join the family. You don't turn your back on the family. There's no retiring from this, Yeah. Lots of good discussion of this case in the doc, sharing a bit of additional context about why we're recommending this action. The key factor informing our approach is consensus from experts monitoring Matsubrai security and disinfo that this looks a lot like a hack and leak that learned from the 2016 WikiLeaks approach and our policy changes. The 2016 WikiLeaks approach. Once again, there was no misinfo in those WikiLeaks dumps. None. Zero whatsoever.
Right.
The suggestion from experts, which rings true, does it, is that there was a hack that happened separately and they loaded the hacked materials on the laptop that magically appeared at a repair shop in Delaware and was coincidentally reviewed in a very invasive way by someone who coincidentally then handed the materials to Rudy Giuliani.
That rings true.
Yeah, right, yeah.
There's like, well, clearly a dragon shat in the middle of Baltimore and he shat out a laptop. I mean, clearly that's what happened.
I mean, look, given the severe risks we saw in this space in 2016, when once again, if you're referring to the WikiLeaks dumps, there was no foul play there in terms of any wrong information. We're recommending a warning and de-amplification pending further information.
It's a conspiracy theory based on a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, right, exactly. A debunked conspiracy theory.
Right.
Right, by this time.
Right, by that time, the Mueller report is out.
It was already out. It had been out for over a year by this time. If additional information emerges that establishes the origins of the materials more conclusively, if it emerges at some point, say, like, mid-November, right? Like, maybe after the first Tuesday in November, right?
Yeah.
We could reverse this action, after the election, right? And remove the warning or escalate our enforcement should it cross the line fully. We recognize that the product experience of the warning label is less than ideal, and we'll surface that feedback with the experienced team again. So now he goes into the tech speak, right? Into the circle back, right?
Yeah.
Loop you
We'll
in,
circle back
bullshit, right? Yeah, exactly. All right, very good. All right, let's keep going here. We're almost done, folks. At 3:38 p.m. that same day, October 14th, Baker arranges a phone conversation with Matthew J. Perry in the office of the General Counsel of the FBI. There you go. All right, there's that graphic there. I was wondering if Jennifer Aniston was in on that. Maybe we could have gotten her email, but no such luck.
No such luck. No ScarJo, no nothing.
Yeah, no. The influence operation persuaded Twitter execs that the Hunter Biden laptop did not come from a whistleblower. One linked to a Hill article based on a WAPO article from October 15th, which falsely suggested that Giuliani's leak of the laptop had something to do with Russia. Once again, a conspiracy based on a conspiracy, right? There is evidence that FBI agents have warned elected officials of foreign influence with the primary goal of leaking the information to the news media. This is a political dirty trick used to create the perception of impropriety. Number 42. In 2020, the FBI gave a briefing to Senator Grassley and Johnson, Republican senators, claiming evidence of Russian interference into their investigation of Hunter Biden. Unbelievable. Yeah. The briefing angered the senators, who say it was done to discredit their investigation. Yeah, I mean, that's justifiable.
That was how they washed. Taibbi reported a lot on this, actually. This was how they washed the Steele dossier and made it available for public consumption, because it was such a half-baked bunch of unsubstantiated shit that the news outlets couldn't report on it. They really could not report on it. So Comey set up Trump by having a briefing. Once there's a briefing, then you can report on it because the briefing is newsworthy. The FBI went and leaked that there had been this briefing, and then the Steele dossier became fair game.
Right, because then it amounts to more than hearsay, because now there's a record of an inquiry.
Right.
The unnecessary FBI briefing provided the Democrats and liberal media the vehicle to spread their false narrative that our work advanced Russian disinfo. That was a quote from the letter that Grassley and Johnson wrote. Notably, then FBI General Counsel Jim Baker was investigated twice in 2017 and 2019 for leaking information to the news media. You're saying he's under criminal investigation? That's why you're not letting him answer? Meadows asked. Yes. And that was from this article here in Politico. All right, we got a comment from the Peanut Gallery. LGBFJB stands for Let's Go Brandon, Fuck Joe Biden, says Richard Grant. Let's fine here.
Does that make him one of the alphabet people?
Yeah, right, exactly. I'm a member of the LGBFJB community. In the end, the FBI's influence campaign aimed at executives at news media, Twitter, and other social media companies worked. They censored and discredited the Hunter Biden laptop story. By December 2020, Baker and his colleagues even sent a note of thanks to the FBI.
That is some Stockholm syndrome shit right there.
Indeed. I can't read that. The font's too small, but there you have it. There's the email. The FBI's influence campaign may have been helped by the fact that it was paying Twitter millions of dollars for its staff time. I am happy to report we have collected $3,415,323 since October 2019, reports an associate of Jim Baker in early 2021. Jim,
your
FYI,
tax dollar at work, folks.
Yeah, there you go. Right, exactly. In 2019, Scale instituted a reimbursement program for our legal process response from the FBI. Prior to the start of the program, Twitter chose not to collect under this statutory right of reimbursement for the time spent processing requests for the FBI. I am happy to report that we've collected about $3.5 million since October 2019. This money is used by LP for things like the TTR and other LE-related projects. All right, very good. 47, and the pressure from the FBI on social media platforms continues. In August 2022, Twitter execs prepared for a meeting with the FBI whose goal was, quote, to convince us to produce on more FBI EDRs. EDRs are an emergency disclosure request, a warrantless search.
Right. Just like where we started.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Only they were turning it down at that time.
Exactly. In response to the Twitter files revelation of high-level FBI agents at Twitter, Jim Jordan said, I have concerns about whether the government was running a misinfo operation on we, the people.
You think?
No, well, that was that literally was that guy's comment below. I just lost it, but he said, gee, you think?
Yeah.
Anyone who reads the Twitter files, regardless of their political orientation, should share those concerns. Well, in an ideal world, Michael, that would be the case. But unfortunately, nothing is regardless of political orientation. Nobody thinks anything regardless of orientation. Every thought in the average person's mind stems from their political orientation. But not ours. Not ours. Like I said, the last funny socialists on YouTube who want universal health care but also feel like these Twitter files revelations are a big deal.
Well, of course they're a big deal. And this, more than any of the others that have dropped, this is really a smoking gun. This takes you through step by step how the FBI manipulated Twitter into behaving like confidential informants. They start out at the beginning, sticking to their kind of Silicon Valley libertarianism. Well, these guys want to, I don't know, I think we should just answer them the way we answered them before. By the end, oh, thank you so much for all your help. They broke them, man. It's really an interesting examination of their craft, their spy craft at work. Yeah. So now anybody who we also got some pushback about Elon and Elon Musk and being too favorable in our coverage. Generally, our pet name for Elon Musk is douchebag. But if you can read this and not understand why you might feel Elon Musk is the lesser of two evils, if this is the other option, you're not paying attention.
Yeah, I think that's very well said. And, it gets to something I was going to say earlier. I mean, I have to look up that quote because it's hilarious. Keaton says, take their money and tell them to fuck themselves. Yeah, but anyway, the reason we deferred to the audience, the reason we took a poll on whether to vote yes or no on whether or not Elon should stay is because I was honestly divided. Like, I honestly didn't know how to answer it.
And we actually did, and we said
strongly,
that.
Yeah, exactly. If I felt strongly one way or another, I'd have just answered it myself. I wouldn't have deferred to the crowd. But I was divided on it. I didn't know which way. So I'm like, all right, if I'm divided on it, we'll leave it to the audience.
Sure. I felt the same way. My hesitation, that's what I said on the show. My hesitation was who takes over.
Exactly. Right.
Are they going to go back to this?
Right.
I don't think so under his ownership. As I said, I think this is a ploy. I feel like a lot of what he's done has been, since he's taken over Twitter, has been a lot of sleight of hand. I'm going to send out an email to these workers telling them they have to be hardcore so that a lot of them will quit instead of firing them. Right. And then the story in the media is mass exodus. Like he fucked up. He didn't fuck up. He's trying to get these people off the books. Twitter is losing $4 million a day. He's trying to push people out the door. I think it's the same thing here. He did a poll that he knew he would probably lose as a way of glorifying his decision to step back and not be bothered by this shit anymore. And he's going to put a puppet in there who's going to do what he wants, who's going to have to take the flack.
Right. And he'll give him a nice salary, I'm sure, as compensation. Sure. Right?
Sure.
Chris Bishop from Newburgh, New York. Thank you, Chris. I remember you from yesterday. I feel like I could easily sell the Brooklyn Bridge to these people if I told them Russia was planning on buying before them, even without evidence. Yeah, it's not a bad idea, actually. Not that we encourage.
Well, that's it, really. As goes the Twitter executive staff, so goes the public. I mean, really, this is a microcosm of what the intelligence agencies have done to the entire liberal class.
Of course.
Right? They've spent years taking a liberal class that at one time was reflexively anti-intelligence agencies and turned them into lapdogs to the intelligence agencies and any narrative that they want to feed them.
Absolutely. No doubt about that.
As long as they say Russia.
Right, exactly.
They can feed them anything.
We are at 3,896 subscribers, so a bunch of you did take my advice and hit that subscribe. Thank you so much. Can we get to 3,900 before the end of this stream? That's 4 more. Can 4 of you guys? We got over 200 people watching the stream.
Come on,
it's Hanukkah. 4 of you guys hit that button. Push us over the top, all right? Make us happy here. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. If you don't like the channel, you can unsubscribe next week. You got nothing to lose by hitting that button. We want to also, once again, before we wrap, thank our patrons. You can go to patreon.com/do-dissidents to help support this project. The more Patreon members we sign up, the more of these streams we can do. It's very, very simple, all right? The more members we have, the more time we can devote to this project. But we're glad we came in here today. We hope you guys enjoyed this stream. You could tell by the audience we had that this was not a nothing burger so much, right? Nope. I mean, we can tell, that even though it gets no coverage in the mainstream media, you could tell something is not a nothing burger by the amount of engagement it generates.
Well, in the end, the Republicans are taking over Congress in a few short weeks, and they're not going to be able to ignore it anymore. At that point, the Republicans, I cannot imagine, are not going to open up congressional hearings about this. And
they're
not going to, they're going to do what they do. Why is Congress investigating a nothing burger? But the public generally doesn't buy. Only the usual suspects will buy into that narrative. And they'll just believe anything. But the general public is going to see through that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, this goes back to what we were saying at the beginning of the show about the January 6th and the referral of Trump. If Trump had any brains, he would be tweeting about this or going on Truth Social. He'd be making noise about this. He'd be pushing this into the discourse.
He's been Truth Socialing a little about it.
A little, but not much.
A little bit. Don Jr.'s been on it more.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. He's been on it more. But there's nothing like the real thing. You know what I mean?
There's nothing like the superhero NFT Donald Trump.
No. Exactly. Don Jr. is the Mr. Pibb to Donald Trump's Dr. Pepper. You know what I mean? It's imitation. It's a knockoff.
Yeah.
Nothing like the original.
It's true.
All right, everybody. Is that our show?
That is our show, I think.
That's our show. Thank you very much once again. Thank you to our patrons. Let's see. Did anybody listen to what I just said? They did. All right. 3903. Beautiful. Thank you guys so much.
Oh,
Excellent
snap.
work. Excellent.
Oh, snap.
We appreciate it. See how easy it is? See how easy it is to just hit the subscribe button? Now, of the 200 people who were in here, 7 did it when I asked you to. What if 30 of you did it? What if 40 of you did it? Right? It's not hard. The button's right there. Just hit the button. It's simple. It costs you nothing. It costs you nothing.
Just press the damn button.
Just press the damn button.
It's Hanukkah. It's the festival of lights.
Like pulling teeth, getting you guys to press a button.
Hit the button 12 times, one for each night of Hanukkah.
Exactly. One reason to hit the button, we're interviewing Tara Reid on Wednesday, little over 48 hours. Wednesday night, the 21st at 8 p.m. So that's another reason to hit the subscribe button so you're notified when that interview goes live. All right. Thank you guys very much.
You do not want to miss that.
No, that's going to be a great one. Red Z, good job, gentlemen. Thank you, Red Z, for the $5. Much appreciated.
I've been screaming into this mic for years about the way Me Too threw Tara Reid under the bus. So I'm really looking forward to that interview.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tara does her own show now. It's called The Politics of Survival. It's part of the Indie News Network. I recommend you all subscribe to that. And so, I want to talk to Tara about whatever she wants to talk about, obviously. But, she has a lot of feelings about a lot of issues of the day. So hopefully we'll get into some of that as well. Nick Chorus, thanks, guys. Thank you, Nick. We appreciate that very much. Thank you guys so much. This was a fun one. I hope you guys got something out of this. Like I said, hit that subscribe button on the way out. Please, please, please. It helps us a great deal. We will see you guys back here on Wednesday night at 8 p.m., where we will be interviewing Tara Reid. Thank you very much, everybody. Be safe. Be well. See you next time.
All right.
Please clap.